disparate categories, categories, characters which are characterizations which are required from one side, when it's required from the other side, a different set of categories, then you get this asymmetrical reaction. Did you ever feel that this was?
Well, I'll put it in this language, right? I think that if you have a second wave feminist, okay, who believes in equality and believes that men and women should be treated equally politically, economically, and socially, and if she's being consistent, which many of them are to their own belief systems, they will not expect that. And I've met these people. I've seen them in seminars and in universities. So you'll speak to them and they'll say, well, this is what we expect in the domestic environment. We will expect that we, for instance, in terms of the financial obligations, we will contribute proportionately, 50%, equally, in fact, when it comes to protection. Even they might even forego if they're being very consistent, and we have to put out there that there are many of them that are consistent like this, that will say that we will forego. We don't expect additional protection. Even though practically this might be difficult to implement, some of them will speak in this parlance, and some of them will actually mean these things, and actually, some of them will live that life, and that will even go as far as to say, I mean, you could say those who identify as feminists. You could even make the argument that the majority of them have these beliefs. The biggest ever study that was done in the West was a study done by Blanche Flower and Oswald in 2001, which was a longitudinal study which analyzed 100,000 women's behavior from the years 1970 to 1990. And what's really alarming and surprising about that study is that it indicated that women were becoming less and less happy. After the 60s, or after all the implementation of the laws and legislations that allow them to work and so on. Whereas with men, they were becoming a bit more happy. And in fact, there was that kind of, this is a big study. We're talking here sociology and even psychology, if you like, as well. And what I'm saying here is that let's think about this for a second. Why is that the case? Women now are being, you cannot argue from the 70s to the 90s that they were less in feministic paradigm, egalitarian equality paradigm, that they had it less, they had it worse off from their paradigm than they did before the 50s. So surely things should have been better for them. It should have amounted to happiness for them. The truth of the matter is it amounted to more depression for them, because they were burdened with the double burden, sometimes marginalized with a double marginalization, and they had not realized what they really wanted to realize, which is that they wanted, or many women wanted, to actually have a full-time homemaker's occupation.
Yeah.
Which is why I've mentioned this before, I'll mention it again. When Germaine Greer, who wrote The Whole Woman in 1981, she says we have to look at the homemaker's role as a serious full-time occupation. This was the same woman talking about I don't know what in the 1960s when she wrote The Female Eunuch in the 70s.
Like a comfortable concentration.
That was Betty Friedan.
Yeah, but that kind of thinking.
Yeah, Betty Friedan, when she said that, she retracted it in the second book she wrote called The Second Stage. And in fact, she had also reported in that second book called The Second Stage that she wrote that women were becoming more and more depressed
because of this. Yeah.
Well, she then started to kind of retract a lot of her statements. Her tone started to change when it comes to the homemaker role, and because she realized, she said something really powerful. I think it was in the book, The Second Stage. She said, we need change, she said. But the change is so difficult because some people, she says this, some people, they have made feminism and women's rights activism like a religion.
Wow.
She says the sacredness and the awe that they have for it makes change very difficult. Why is Betty Friedan saying that we need change? She's saying we need change because she realizes through her own sociological investigations that this life that they're leading is not a happy life.
Yeah.
But going back to this question of